Okay, guys, we're going to get more into this no thinking idea. So I'm going to quickly go through a couple things, and we have an activity that I think you'll like. So again, there's this idea when something's simple, we understand it, we don't have to think. It's called a no-brainer. When it's complex or we don't understand something, that's when you have to think, that's when you have stress, that's when you have to make a decision. Now, how good is your brain when you look at it? And there's a lot of science that's gone into how good is our brain as a tool to solve problems. And so let's do a couple tests. Now, if I were to I'm going to give you 5 seconds to stare at a picture and catch what's about to jump out and eat you if you're in a jungle. Oh.
Tiger!
Wow.
Where is it?
Wait, it's a black tiger.
Who sees it?
There's nothing here.
It's a zebra tiger.
Oh, wait, no way.
Wow, that's impressive work. Is that your side?
Yeah. Okay, this picture. Who sees an old woman in this picture? Who sees a young woman in this picture?
I see both.
I see both.
Can you see both?
Yeah.
How do you see a young woman? You don't see that? I see an old lady.
Okay, if it's the young woman, we got her nose and an eyelash there, and she's turned to the side. So this is her ear, this is her cheekbone. She's got a feather.
Wait, why does a young woman have like a bunch of hooves, like white hooves?
She's got a veil or something. She's got a big fur coat on. The old woman, this is her chin. This is her mouth. She's got a big old nose. That's an eye.
This is painful because I can see.
So cool.
This is really painful.
Wait, what is it?
Okay, how about this one? Those two colors. Are those two colors the same?
No.
Positive.
They're so different. You guys are blind. Okay.
No, they're the
Who's
same.
blind now? What that? No, one's blue and one's orange.
Okay, what about this? What two colors is this?
Blue and black.
No, it's gold and white.
Okay, next test. I'm going to show you a video, and in this video, you're going to catch how many things change from the beginning to the end of the video, okay? So catch as many things that change as you can.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away.
Sorry, madam.
It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you?
Action.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
So they go into the brain, and they find out the brain, we have faulty perception. Everybody sees different things in life. Reality is one thing, but we all see different things. We only can pay attention to like one thing at a time in life, and everything else we're blinded to. Our memories, we have bad memories, but not only do we have bad memories, but we make up things that don't even happen. There's this one lady, Elizabeth, she went to studying the memory, but she put on these Disneyland pamphlets. And these Disneyland pamphlets would have Bugs Bunny on it. She'd have people waiting in the lobby with all this stuff out. They come to meet her, and then they interview them about how their trip to Disneyland was in the past. And people would tell her stories of, how their trip was as a kid. And then she'd ask them about Bugs Bunny. It's like, do you remember meeting Bugs Bunny? And then they'd be like, oh yeah, I met Bugs Bunny. I remember shaking his hand, touching his tail, touching his carrot. Now what's wrong with that?
Bugs Bunny ain't Disney.
Yeah, he's not at Disneyland, right? But people make up stuff when they can't remember things. And they actually think it happens to them.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Then we go into emotions, decision making. They find out people aren't judging things by facts, more by emotions, how they feel. And when they do make decisions, they're always biased. Like when you look at things that are your choice, you always see the positive. Everyone else's choice is what? The negative. Because of course you chose the best possible thing out there. Or when you take a test, maybe, self-serving bias. When we fail a test, who do we blame? Not us. I was sick that day, somebody was talking to me, the teacher's a bad teacher. But when we get a good grade, what do? Must be because I'm so smart. Yeah, that must be the reason. And so we always think in our own best interest, but we can't see reality sometimes. And so what does all of this mean? If we put our brain to the test, bad perception, no attention, memory's bad, emotions govern our decisions, and we're always biased. If you were to use this as a tool, do you think you'll be very successful?
No.
In fact, the human brain hasn't really developed much over the years. The only reason that we've developed is because we accepted our brain is not good. When we went over these things, we found out, it's harmful to think. If you know, you don't have to think. And we have all this technology now that compensates. For instance, how many phone numbers do you guys know? Like, does anyone have memorized more than 2 phone numbers?
I only have 3.
3.
I only have like
6. You used to have to remember everybody's phone number.
Either that or you had a phone book.
Or a phone book. Or directions. Or a calculator. We found ways that we can become better without having to use our brain. And that's why we've become more successful. The technology has found a way to replace our brains. And so here's the question. How do we simplify things? How do we make this shift to not thinking as much?